Most beginners have been taught to start sewing by making squares, pillowcases, practicing straight lines, but that never excited me. So before I even really knew how to sew, I started doing something different. I started upcycling oversized sweatshirts. And honestly, that's what built my confidence at the sewing machine. So if you're new to sewing and want to make something that you can actually wear, this is a perfect place to start. First thing we're taking off is these pockets. Let's get them out the way. Let's just introduce the seam ripper. In the beginning, seam ripping seems scary. You feel like you're gonna mess something up, cut the fabric, do it wrong. But trust me, you're gonna get good at this. Because when you're learning, you're gonna use this thing more than you want to. Just go slow. Let the tool do the work. No rushing. Flip the shirt inside out so that we can actually see the seams. And we're gonna cut off that waistband. Cut right above the seam. You'll see the heavy stitch line. You want to cut right above that line. That way you make no mistakes. Take your time and go all the way around. Now that we have successfully removed the pocket and the waistband, we just want to lay everything out flat. Turn the hoodie back to the original side, that's the correct side, and then we're going to crop it. This is going to be to your desired length. You can put it on so that you can see where you want it to stop at, and that's where you want to cut it at. Now we take that waistband and we find the seam and we cut straight across the seam to open it up. When we were cutting the waistband off the shirt, we cut above the stitch. Now we're going to cut under the stitch. That thick line, we're going to cut that off because we don't want that in the way when we're putting the waistband back onto the sweatshirt. So just take your time cutting that in a straight line all the way to the end of the waistband. Now we put it back together. We're just gonna lay the waistband around the shirt, making sure that everything is lined up, and we're gonna clip it in place. Important thing to note here is to make sure that front sides are facing. That means that your waistband's front side is facing the front side of your hoodie, shirt, or whatever you're using. Also, keep in mind that the tighter that you pull on the waistband, like if you stretch it as you're pinning it, that determines how tight it's gonna fit around your waist. So if you want a tight fit, you wanna stretch that waistband. If you want a loose fit, you don't wanna stretch it as much. That waistband is your elasticity. That's what that is used for. So the more you pull on it, the tighter it's gonna be. The less you pull on it, the looser it's gonna be. So as you get to the end, you're gonna realize that you're gonna have more waistband than you have shirt. Because remember, we're resizing this hoodie. So when we cropped it, it was bigger. So we have to cut off the excess pieces of the waistband because we're basically making a whole new waistband. And right here is where I cut the excess pieces off. So now we're just gonna line up the seams. The seam of the shirt and the new seam that we're gonna be making of the waistband. We want that all to be lined up. So trim it down as much as you need to so that those seams can match. Because we're gonna take this to the machine and we're gonna sew a line right up and down right here to make a new seam. All right, so we're ready to go to the machine. We're gonna sew all the way around. The first thing we're gonna sew is right here, that seam. After we sew that seam, we're gonna match it up, clip it, and then we can begin to sew all the way around, attaching the waistband back to the shirt. Now, I use the serger to do this, but you most definitely do not have to use a serger. You could use your regular sew machine. I would put it on a zigzag stitch because you want to keep the stretch. And the only way to keep the stretch is to use a zigzag stitch or overlock stitch, whatever your sewing machine has. What you see me doing here is pulling on the hoodie so that I can keep the stretch. You gotta tug on it a little bit and sew at the same time. It sounds more complicated than it really is. The key thing to remember is to just take your time. If for any second that frustration kicks in, walk away. Get up and walk away from your machine. I have learned that the hard way. But it's a valuable lesson when sewing, because sewing is supposed to be relaxing. It's supposed to be therapeutic. So whenever it becomes stressful, you got to get up and walk away. Go do something else and then come back to the machine with a fresh mind, a new beginning, and just start over. If you don't take anything else from this message, take that. Get up and walk away. This is how you build confidence at the sewing machine. Not by sewing squares forever, but by actually making stuff you're excited to wear. You stop being afraid of the machine and start feeling like, okay, yeah, I could do this. Yeah, and confidence starts to build. Small projects just like this will take you from beginner to intermediate, and one day you're gonna look up and be advanced. You just gotta start somewhere, and this is where I started. And now I can pretty much make anything. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I hope that this video was helpful to someone. I hope that it took away some fear and gave you a place to start. And boom, same sweatshirt, different fit, different vibes.